Welcome to FNN News, Finfinne News Network. I am your host today, Cybele. FNN today is reporting on the unfortunate death of Obo Feqadu Magarsa Gudeta, who is a key figure in the fight for Oromo liberation and who passed away this week after succumbing to serious disease at a hospital in Maryland in the U.S. Obo Feqadu was responsible for running two very important websites that provided and disseminated information on the situation in Oromia for Oromo people living outside of the country. Those two sites were ayantu.org and kichu.org. The sites served as a platform for Oromo people to share their articles, collections, products, and artwork to other people living internationally. And it also became a crucial tool for visitors to the site to get information about what is going on within Oromia and disseminate important news from inside Ethiopia. Here we're showing a picture of Obo Feqadu. And of course, these sites that Obo Feqadu helped to set up and run were crucial in terms of making sure that information gets out there about what's going on within Oromia. Of course, as we know, there has been a pretty continuous campaign of suppression of information carried out by the government under Abiy Ahmed. So Obo Feqadu is survived by his spouse and daughter, and who is currently studying at the university. And a fundraiser that was posted by his family on GoFundMe has so far raised more than $14,000. Moving on to important news on the conflict going on right now in the northern Tigray region. The UN has now suspended all flights to Tigray after a humanitarian flight headed to the region was forced to land due to continued airstrikes that were being carried out this week by the Ethiopian government. The flight in question was being run by the UN Humanitarian Air Services and took off from the capital of Finfinne, but later received instructions to land near the Mekelle airport control tower. The flight turned around, and luckily the 11 people who were on board were returned safely to the capital of Finfinne. Later on, a government spokesperson, Legese Tulu, told the Associated Press that government forces were aware that the UN plane was in the area, but also said that the government aircraft had, direct quote, a different time and direction. But however, the UN humanitarian chief, Martin Griffiths, said that the UN had received no warning previously that the airstrikes would be conducted and that the government had actually cleared the flight to take off. Additionally, the head of the UN's Regional Humanitarian Office for Southern and Eastern Africa, Gemma Connell, said that this is the first time that a flight has been forced to turn around in Ethiopia due to continuous airstrikes and the danger surrounding that. And meanwhile, Getachew Reda, who is a spokesperson for the Tigray People's Liberation Front, announced in a tweet, we're going to put that up here, that the airstrikes that forced the UN plane to turn around hit non-military targets and innocent civilians once again, as we saw, of course, in the last report when airstrikes had hit a market in Mekelle and killed several people. So here is the text of the tweet that he put out there. He says, Abiy Ahmed's Air Force did once again strike non-military targets around MU campus. He's referring there to Mekelle University. The airstrikes were reported by him as well as humanitarian sources from humanitarian organizations to have struck that university. While this is not outrageous enough, a UN aircraft had to abort its landing because of the airstrike. Our air defense units knew the UN plane was scheduled to land, and it was due in large measure to their restraint. It was not caught in a crossfire. What begs the question, however, is the government cleared the UN plane to fly to Mekelle only to send its fighter jet in time to raid civilian targets. While the use of the UN flight as a distraction couldn't be ruled out, it is not entirely implausible to suspect that the smart Alex in Addis, that's Addis Ababa, the capital, also known as Finfine, were indeed setting up the UN plane to be hit by our guns. The fact that the plane that came today was denied permit yesterday couldn't be a mere coincidence. Abiy's moves beg for action. And of course, that comes as the government has launched airstrikes against the Tigray region for 4 days during this past week. And this airstrike, the last one that struck on Friday, hit Mekelle University, and that's according to Reda and 3 other non-political, impartial humanitarian sources. In addition, a government-sponsored news source, not government-sponsored, Tigray TPLF-sponsored news source, Tigray TV, reported that 11 people were wounded in the attack, although Reda has not yet confirmed that number. Meanwhile, Legesse Tulu, again the government spokesperson, once again denied that the attack hit a university, and he announced instead that he claimed it had targeted a military base that was previously being used by the Ethiopian government and had been taken over by TPLF fighters who had turned it into a training base. And this, of course, comes as the government has yet to lift a blockade on humanitarian aid to Tigray, which was imposed in June and has caused widespread famine as residents have been unable to obtain food and necessary survival supplies. Continuing on, in news on Oromia, a conflict has been reported in Hararghe, which is an area in East Oromia, between the Ethiopian Somalis and Oromo, which led to lives lost and property damage. We're going to put up some images of the damage here that was caused. Now, clashes between Oromo people and Somali troops over territorial disputes first began around 2016, or at least were aggravated then. And this may have been partially due to a severe drought that year that first set off the clashes. And the situation was later exacerbated when 2 Oromo officials were reportedly killed on the border between the 2 territories. And that's reportedly they were killed by Somali police. So this was sort of the beginning of the conflict. However, once again, there have been virtually no official investigations into those events, and there have been no exact figures, of course, provided by the government for the death toll, how many people were killed or affected by this conflict. A year after that, in 2017, the government stepped in to try to broker a peace deal between Somalis and Oromo people, and to more solidly demarcate the borderline between the 2 nations in stricter terms. However, after that agreement, many Oromos felt that they had not received a fair deal there. In other news, the Oromo Liberation, the OLA has also reported attacking Ethiopian military in the Bosat district in the East Shawa zone. And in this attack, the OLA has reported killing 14 and injuring 15 enemy combatants. And just geographically, Bosat is about 120 kilometers or 75 miles east of the capital, Finfine. And to close out today, FNN News has obtained footage of a child soldier that was recruited to fight with the Ethiopian government. We're going to play this footage for you, and here you will see 2 Oromo youth who were conscripted into the Ethiopian army by force after they were captured by the Tigray Defense Force in northern Ethiopia, where that zone of conflict is continuing right now. The younger one in this clip says that he is just 15 years old, and they also can be heard mentioning Amhara forces fired upon young children from behind when they surrendered to the TDF and were captured. So we're going to play that footage for you now.
ስምህ ማን ነው? ከየት ነው የመጣህ ብለህ ጠይቀው። ልሱ በኦሮምኛ ለልጁ
አብዲ የሰራ ድፍቴ ገንደከፍ
እድሜ ስንት ነው?
ወጋ ጌሜ ቀጣ ወጋ ቁረሸንታታ
ስንት ሆነ እዚህ ከመጣህ?
ነገ ድፍቴ አገም ቱርቴ
ድምጽ ግን አይሰማም። ከፈል ማንስ ልጅ
ጂያ ተኮ ቡልቲ ቁረሸን ቱርቴ
ምን ለማድረግ ነው ወደ መከላከያ የተቀላቀልከው? ምን ለመሆን ነው ወደ መከላከያ የተቀላቀልከው? እንዴት ነው የተቀላቀልከው?
አከምቲ መከላከያ ግልግል ታታይስ በግድ ነው።
በግድ ማለት እንዴት? እስካብራራው። የት ያገኙህ? እንዴት ያዙህ? ምናምን
አከምቲ ሲቀባኒ ግዳጅ የቹን አከም ግዲዳ አከምቲ ተተማልታቱ እሰራ ማሊ ተስገሰን አክማል ቡጂን ከማል ይደኒ አስገሰን
makiinaa darbatan daandii irratti jiru makiinaa irratti
daandii irratti makiinaa irraas fidanii
makiinaa irratti
daandii irraa qabanii makiina keessa kaa'an
እና ከእድሜ በታች የሆኑ በግድ ያስገባል ማለት ነው። ማለት ይሄ 15 ነው አይደል?
15 ነው እድሜ
እኮ 15 18 ካልሞላ በግድ ያስገባሉ ማለት ነው ወደ መከላከያ።
በግድ አስጎትቶ እኮ ነው ያስገባው። መንገድ ላይ ያለው በቃ ጁንታ ምናምን አገር ፍራሽ ስለገቡ አገር ላይ ቁጭ ብላችሁ መብላት አይቻልም ብሎ በግድ ጉታችሁ ስላስገባችሁ እንደዛ ብሎ ነው ያስገቡ አለ። በቃ እኛም ተመሳሳይ እንደዛ።
እስኪ ያጋጠመህ ነገር በምን ሁኔታ እንደተማረክ በኦሮምኛ ንገረን ብለህ በኦሮምኛ አስረዳ።
አከምቲ ሮ ጋማና ከነሰንቴ ምርቃቲ አከምቲ ግዲዳን አከምቲ ምርቃቲ ከነሰንቴ ወጋባቶ አከሚስ እንጂ ይራ ሩከቡዲ ሰገሌ
እንቱ ይገለገለ ነንጋሃለሽ
አማ ማና ካናቲ ግዳጅዳን ጌቴ ይችላል ሁሉ ነገር እኔ ያቀን ተይዞ እስከ ዛሬ የመጣው በግዳይ ያቀን ከመኪና አስገባ በኋላ እኔ ተመልሶ የተጠየቀ ሰው የለውም። በቃ ውጋ አስገባ ዝም ብሎ አንድ ወር ከ15 ቀን ስልጠና ትገባላችሁ ብሎ ማፍታትና ማግጣም ብቻ ይሄ እንዲህ ነው ብሎ በቃ ውጋ ግቡ ብሎ አስገባን። ከትላንት ወዳ ነው መጣ። ምንም በቃ በግዳጅ ነው እስካሁን መጣ እንጂ ወዲቻ አይደለም ይላል።
ትክክል። አሁን አንተ ተናገር። ቁጭ በል አንተ ቦታ መሄድ ትላለህ። ስምህ ማን ነው?
እኔ ሁሴን።
Once again, that's footage of 2 child soldiers that were conscripted into the Ethiopian military after they surrendered to a Tigray Defense Force, the younger one being 15 years old. The use of child soldiers, of course, has been a practice that has been continually used and documented by the Ethiopian military. So that's it for today. We will continue to update you on the situation in Tigray as well as conflicts that have continued within Oromia. Once again, I am your host, Cybele, and thank you for watching Finfine News Network.